still waiting for one of our presenters, but let's use some time in the meantime. There was a questionnaire in between the papers that you got with your registration papers, and Magali is asking really to have it back, filled in, of course. So please don't forget about this. You can leave it at the registration desk at the entrance. Another thing is, don't forget there is the reception after the World Cafe. It will be a good opportunity to talk to each other, to talk to people from the Med and other programs. So, so be there and use the opportunity. Now the next session, Sinisha. Okay. Now the next session title is The Future Med Program in a Nutshell. I will ask later on what that means, if this is metaphor for something. This nutshell, I'm sure it means something. So, and our presenters here with us are Tarja, that you know already. We have Nadia, that was here with us for the first session, doing the Med history. We have Sinisha Petrovic just joining us. Sinisha is task manager for IPA Adriatic and Med programs, Directorate for European Integration of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Welcome. We have Gentian Jajiu. Thank you. I have so much experience with people mispronouncing my name, so I'm really trying hard to get it. Head of NIPAC sector. This, it would be National IPA Coordinator, is it? Okay. Department for Programming of EU Assistance, Ministry of European Integration, Albania. Welcome. And with us is Lodovico Gerardi. Gerardi, Region Emilia-Romagna, Future Managing Authority of the ETC Adriatic Union Program 2014-20. Okay, this session is started by Tarja. Tarja will again tell us basically what the new program is going to be like, and will give us an overview of the process.
Could you move the PowerPoint, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you're ready. Okay, fine. So I'm going to roughly based on the PowerPoint that you will be seeing behind my back to explain you the overall architecture or the overall construction of the new program, which is of course already starting this period, this year, 2014, but in reality we have just submitted our cooperation program to the Commission in September, so we still have to wait for the real launching and the real opening of the calls. But we start to communicate on this new program now and progressively during the winter, of course. And we hope for your involvement in discussion on how things will be concretely done, because everything exists on paper now, but nothing exists in concrete, and we still have to discuss with the stakeholders to get there in concrete. So, the MED program, the next edition, you see more or less the same map as you saw for this period, except that, of course, our 3 IPA countries are now full members of the program since the beginning, and there is no intermediary phase as there was in this period. And, of course, we also have more budget for them, which is good news. And we have some new regions. We have a new area from Italy, we have a new area from France, the Midi-Pyrénées region, and we also have Lisbon region, which wanted to join the program, and which we welcomed because there were only 2 regions participating from Portugal, and this is giving a more balanced distribution of regions in the Mediterranean countries. So the program is a little bit enlarged. And of course, Croatia is now a member state, so since the beginning of the program, we now have 10 member states and 3 candidate countries. So I hope you are not afraid of the, the illustration of the program architecture. Just a few words about it. It's difficult to explain simply because there were a lot of demands and a lot of expectation already from the Commission side in the new EU strategy for this period. And on that basis, we first carried out a diagnostic, a SWOT analysis of the program space. What are our needs, largely speaking, in this program space? To which criteria we could base the program priorities. And then there was this construction coming from the Commission, which is something that anyway we had to adapt to the program and decide on that basis. We had thematic objectives, a list of 11 thematic objectives where we could choose some of them. And we were not supposed to choose, of course, all of them, but stick to some of them, maximum 4. And for each one, we had to choose an investment priority or several investment priorities. And then we could create what we call specific objectives, which are really the key of the new program. What is coming out of it? What actions are we asking for in each one of these thematics? And then, of course, we, after having elaborated these specific objectives and having decided the priorities, we consulted the public. We asked for, we published the draft cooperation program and we asked for return from the public. And based on all this, we started to develop the result indicators. So the indicators are really crucial in this programming period that is opening now, and they really are something that should give the proof to ourselves, to the Commission, to everybody else of our results. So the projects will be asked to be result-oriented. They will have to bring us the outputs. The output indicators will be based on the outputs that we expect from the projects, and these should be accumulating to the result, which should be something that we can prove by the indicators. So it was a very constraining construction to get to the new program, and it's much more detailed in the actions, in the thematics. The focus is much more clear than was the case in the programming document in this period. For all these reasons, we were asked to do it, and also it's in the air of time. We have to be more thematically focused. So we have more budget, and we also have more budget for the 3 IPA countries, which is good news because we have actually more specifically 9.3 million for the 3 countries for the programming period. We will be conducting, of course, the calls for proposals and the participation of IPA partners on completely similar basis than the participation of EADF partners. So they will be 100% part of the calls and 100% part of the partnerships. Only the fund, the original fund, is different. We have decided the co-financing rate. So the co-financing rate for all partners who are not concerned by the state aid, whose activities are not commercially oriented in the project, or who are not concerned by the state aid schemes, will have to bring 15% of their own co-financing, which is then normally public co-financing, and 85% is provided by the program. And this is the same thing for IPA partners as for ERDF. And if the partner is an economic operator, if it's having commercial activity in the framework of the project, because this is not, according to the European system, this is not a question of status of the structure, but of its activity in the project. If it's concerned by state aid, then we might use different state aid schemes. We might use de minimis aid, but we also might use block exemption regulation, which means that the partner could have a different co-financing rate. It might be 85, but in some cases it might be just 50, depending on the type of participation of enterprises or other partners concerned by the state aid. Then, yes, the next slide is already there. Yeah, so we have renewed the architecture of the program somehow, because we are thinking about launching different module-based projects which can be self-sustaining. It's kind of an attempt to simplify what the project is producing, how the project is constructed. It has to be seen as a kind of simplification, because until now our projects standardly have been projects of 3 years, except in the very end of the programming where we didn't have time for 3-year projects anymore. But basically the standard idea of these cooperation projects has been 3 years, and very many different activities within. So there is very often a state-of-the-art study phase, a pilot, a test phase, and then ideally they should be also transfer and capitalization phase, but normally the projects don't have time for that anymore. So we are trying to provide a way of simplifying this reality, and we propose model projects. So we propose that the projects can comply one of these phases of a standard project, and they can also be combined. But we are going to go more in details in each one of the calls to say how they can be combined, because it's depending a little bit also on the theme and not just a little bit. So you can have projects in themes where we consider that we don't have so much state-of-the-art knowledge, or we are lacking something on the transnational level to make the state-of-the-art. We might have other themes where this is not necessary, because we know that we already have a lot of studies, a lot of transnational aspects studied that can be used for the other parts, for the other models. But in some themes it might be necessary to have this model 1. And then we will have pilot projects. Model 2 is more or less pilot projects, pilot testing, putting things in concrete, transferring in the local and regional level, but not necessarily mainstreaming, but giving evidence of transferability of results anyway. And then the third model, which would be projects more like our capitalization projects today, or even improved version of our capitalization projects, to transfer results which are not necessarily coming from their own work or their own previous projects, but that are regrouped on a specific theme. And then, of course, as we have already started to work on thematic communities, projects working together between projects and gaining more visibility and more synergies, and not just working each partnership alone with their own theme. We are going to continue this, and we probably will also launch several of these horizontal projects. So we have now one experimental example in the maritime call, a horizontal project which is taking care of communication and capitalization aspects for all the other projects programmed in the same call. And we will probably use this mechanism also for other themes and for other calls. And then, of course, we will expect more participation of private sector enterprises with this facilitation of using different aid schemes eventually, and opening up to their participation in different axes. Of course, their participation is the most expected in axis 1, where we are working with clusters and where enterprises are directly concerned, but it might also be very relevant in the axis 2 in the energy issues. Then we have a territorial approach, of course. We have a thematic approach, which my colleagues will be explaining priority by priority. And then we have the territorial approach for different themes. We are specifically considering in the actions that we are putting in place areas like coastal areas, urban areas, islands, and rural areas. And different actions are targeted to different territories in the new program. There is also a non-territorial axis, let's say, which is not having this territorial specificity, which is supposed to work on the overall program space, which is the Axis 1, which is about Mediterranean clusters and enterprises. But for coastal areas, for instance, there are questions about tourism, there are questions about spatial planning, there are the integrated approach, sustainable development, and we have Axis 3 for that. But also urban areas, there is a question about smart cities, mobility issues, and we have actions in Axis 2 about that. And for the islands, it's the same thing. We are talking about renewable energies, energy independency of the islands, energy mix in regional planning, and we have a specific axis where these actions are foreseen, and so on. So I think with this, we come to the specific axes, and to give you more overview on their contents, I give the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you, Tarja. We are now moving to thematic objectives and priorities, starting with priority number 1, innovation. This is also priority number 1 in terms of popularity in the former period, so no wonder that as much as 1/3 of program resources have been allocated to innovation. This accounts for 75 million euro, 72 million ERDF, and 3 million IPA funding. All transnational programs have selected this priority, framework conditions for innovation. So the question is, what is specific, or is there anything specific in the MED program when it comes to innovation? And going to the second slide, we will start at the very tail of the title with the key sectors of the MED area, which are related to blue growth, green growth, creative industries, and also social innovation. That means that this priority is very, very broad, even if focused on some specific sectors. Next, innovative clusters and networks. You know that clusters are tightly knit organizations of interactions, primarily between research and the SMEs. But we would like also to go beyond this relatively narrow approach to a quadruple helix approach, thereby also speaking of target groups and beneficiaries, which must incorporate 4 types of actors: public authorities, institutions of knowledge, operators, and also the users. That means all kinds of actors that can contribute to relevant solutions in a specific field. And then the first part of the title, going transnational or international with these clusters. So what we shall measure as our result is increasing transnational activity of innovative clusters and networks of key sectors of the MED area. Types of action would be those that we already know and some new ones. So development of clusters and networks, development of models and tools, transfer of knowledge, awareness raising, and also capitalization. So this would be the first overview of priorities, and passing on to priority 2.
Hi everybody, I'm Siniša Petrovic from Directorate for European Integration. I will briefly present priority axis 2, which is fostering low carbon strategies and energy efficiency in specific MED territories. It is often mentioned that MED program is not meant to support heavy investments in infrastructure and things like that. It's more for soft kind of actions like institution cooperation, capacity building, awareness rising, and even though IPA countries like Bosnia and Herzegovina are very needy in terms of specific investments in infrastructure or technology, this priority axis still can be very effective, because when it comes to energy consumption or carbon blueprint and things like that, a lot of gain, a lot of benefit can be produced just by changing attitudes and behaviors, policies and practices. And that's what MED program is very well equipped to do. Now, you can see the structure of this priority axis. It is linked to, it corresponds to one thematic objective, and it comprises two investment priorities. As far as budget is concerned, there is 45 million euro from ERDF budget and 1.9 million euro from IPA budget, which totals about 20% of both budgets combined. For RDF members, ERDF members, there is option of private co-financing, while IPA countries have to provide public co-financing. So under each of these investment priorities, as you can read them, there is some actions that are supposed to be taken, some activities, and those activities should produce and contribute to certain results, which we can define as specific objectives. There are three specific objectives in this priority axis. The first is to raise capacity for better management of energy in public buildings at transnational level. So to achieve that objective, actions are required on many different levels to build and develop and implement policies, to build capacities, to change behaviors and attitudes, and suitable counterparts or beneficiaries or target groups can be national public authorities in charge of policy implementation or policy making. There can be building owners or managers or some research structures, even some enterprises with new innovative energy saving solutions. Also, as Tarja mentioned, this particular specific objective supports even some small-scale infrastructures in some pilot activities or trainings or transfer of best practices. The next specific objective is to increase share of renewable local energy sources in energy mix strategies and plans in MED territories. So this objective aims for diversification of renewable energy production. In other words, to supplement mass production with some locally based solutions which have to better answer to specific needs and constraints and ensure permanent supply of energy to all territories. To achieve this objective, potential applicants should develop some, like Tarja mentioned, territorial approaches taking into consideration the specificities of certain territories to explore energy mix strategies and apply innovative solutions in these territories and to widely disseminate knowledge and experiences. The third objective is to increase capacity to use existing low-carbon transport systems and multimodal connections among them. So it is not just about reducing of greenhouse gas emissions, it's also about improving accessibility for people in a remote area or to increase economic competitiveness of certain MED areas by improving passenger and freight transportations. So to achieve this objective, relevant stakeholders can be involved in decision-making process, or they can apply many soft actions related to transportation policies, also to applies some innovations regarding transport, procedural or technological or organizational improvements. So, like it was obvious from some previous presentation, energy is very important, and it can be a very important asset to our future development. So it is important to first to change behavior, to change policies, to change attitudes, and we can do that with a little help from MED program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It seems it's the moment for priority axis 3. Let's suppose for a moment that we should make a competition between these priority axes that we have been hearing up to now. I want to interact with you, Ksenia. What do you think? Because in my opinion, priority axis 3 is the most attractive one when it comes to MED regions. Yes, we've been hearing...
Are you competing with
No. No, we've been hearing important, because we all have been drafting MED together, so I'm going to... I love MED. I've been national contact point and I still am very involved in it. So Ksenia, what do you see in the title? Which are two elements that you attract your attention, let's say, there?
Well, cultural seems fine. And
Yes.
It doesn't seem too bureaucratic.
Okay.
Like it. Mediterranean I associate with
Okay, which is
beauty anyway,
it's for everyone, yeah.
Yeah.
You-
Is protecting seems okay. Cultural.
So culture, but also natural resources. So when it comes to MED, we speak, but between the lines, what can we read? Culture and nature. Yeah. We read, yeah, no, it was a question for me. We read tourism. This is the only priority axis where between the lines we can find tourism. And, yeah, that's right. And for IPA countries and for all the MED regions, tourism is a great possibility for development, is a great possibility for enhancing their attractiveness in the eyes of the world, not only of Europe. Why? This is the first reason why I think that this priority axis is the most attractive and most interesting one. The second one is the budget. If we have a look to the budget, we have jointly decided to attribute to this priority axis 34% of the total allocation. This makes this priority number 1 in terms of budget. And when it comes to European programs, budget is number 1 discussion, let's say. Okay, let's go to next slide. And I think that IPA countries will have a great saying in this priority axis because we are really involved. All our CBC programs in the region, in the Western Balkans, have natural and cultural heritage as top priority, and I think that this is the best priority axis that we IPA countries can have a great, let's say, opportunity to participate. In terms of specific objective, there are 2 specific objectives: to enhance sustainable development policies for more efficient valorization of natural resources and cultural heritage in coastal and adjacent maritime areas. MED region, maritime coastal regions in the whole MED, let's say MED architecture, is facing with lots of pressure. And I mean pressure in terms of demographic pressure, cultural pressure, urban pressure. So via this specific objective, projects that are going to be awarded under this priority axis should improve the way of thinking, should improve the policy making, and I think that via this priority axis and this specific objective, MED will ensure, let's say, the better protection of natural resources and the better protection and, let's say, management of what we mean water management. Because water management is a top priority for this globalized world today. And then if we go to specific objective number 2, I see that we should maintain, potential applicants should maintain biodiversity and natural ecosystems through strengthening the management and networking of protected areas. And when it comes to protected areas, there are hundreds, not to say thousands, throughout the MED region. But none of them have a great networking with each other. So via this priority axis, I hope that that not only IPA countries, but in relation, in synergy with member state partners, we will make a better networking, and thus, with this better networking, we will promote our regional parks, our national protected areas, our UNESCO sites, etc. Last but not least, it's types of actions and key target groups. Types of actions are clearly enough for all of us because culture and nature are easy to understand. Analysis, studies, policy planning, strategy development, but also transfer of practices. And I think that the real challenge of this priority axis and of the program will be to improve governance practices and policies. I hope that this program will do it. And when it comes to key target groups, we speak about public authorities, which in the case, local public authorities, in this case, will be very good potential applicants, but also associations, NGOs, research bodies, without forgetting the enterprises. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question for Lodovico. How many thematic priorities were we talking about?
Good question.
We were talking about 4 thematic priorities. So there is one of them missing?
I believe not from one side, but I will answer your question with a question. Where close, where finish Mediterranean and start Adriatic Ionian? Because I believe that this is or should be the starting point of a priority axis 4, in where the macro-regional strategy can develop. And I believe that it is important to put the mind at this, the fact that some political macro-regional strategy are inside of this space.
Can I just warn you about the microphone? Yes. Because I think that people won't be able to hear you well. Just, you have to hold it
Yes, I stay, yes, okay. This is an ice cream and I can, but yes, okay. But, no, okay, to be back. Macro-regional strategy inside of European territorial cooperation transnational programs. What does it mean? And I believe that this start at the point of priority axis 4 in the programming where this priority is. And it is exactly to found a link between these macro-regional strategies and the actions of the other thematic axis. This is my point of view. Daria, what about?
Yes, your interpretation is absolutely correct, Lodovico. I think we are on the same track because we decided, our member states and partner states decided to go for this 4th axis, which is not a thematic axis as such, which is an axis for governance, which is an axis for the overall cooperation in our program space. And of course, there is a macro-regional strategy under our program space, but it's covering part of it and not the other part. So it's a very specific situation. And there is another program, Lodovico is presenting this Adrian program, which is exactly aligned on the space, the program space of the macro-regional strategy. So the situation is complex. And at the same time, we know that on the Mediterranean scale, we cannot claim that we would have something like general governance or more macro strategic cooperation elements put in place. We don't have them. So the attempt of this axis is to contribute to emerging of this type of strategies and to create the link from our program side as well to the macro-regional strategy which is existing now in the Adriatic Ionian space. And what Gentian said about this attractive axis 3, of course, we are talking about integrated approach, sustainable development, biodiversity. Of course, these technical axes, thematic axes, should be feeding the platforms of coordination and governance which should be financed under the axis 4. It's a kind of a meta-axis, actually. It should be taking capitalization experience from the thematic axis and bringing it to the more, let's say, political governance level.
Okay.
And we have a challenge because because you are under our program space and we have to deal with it, so we have to work together. We have a challenge here.
Exactly. I am here for this reason, and the reason is also, maybe I have my slides? Yes. No, but before to start in these slides, I want do a couple of considerations. The first is that the entropy of the universe is in continuing increasing. And in the similar way, the entropy of European territorial cooperation programs is in continuing increasing. And this is one the fact. The other, to survive, it should be better to use the Occam scissor, is another famous basis of the natural philosophy. Then when you have a difficult framework, you have to select and to challenge the easier solution. And sorry for this beginning, but it is because I believe you can do. Okay, super. This is the EUSIRE. EUSIRE is the macro-regional strategy. Then that is completely overlap with this new transnational program. This Adriatic-Ionian, Adrian, I suggested to call him Adios, but nobody likes, and this, okay, Adriatic-Ionian space. This is the translation, but nobody likes, but this is, okay, this is the macro-regional strategy. And as you see, is a part of MED. And this was the reason, because I asked from the beginning, where is the division, the division from MED and this. Go to the next. Okay, Adriatic-Ionian is not only a maritime strategy, but it is also an important terrestrial surface. And this means that in this strategy there is a mix between maritime and terrestrial strategy. And this is important to define. Good. These are blue growth, connecting the region, environmental qualities, sustainable tourism. More or less, these are the pillars of the macro-regional strategy. And then, okay, and we arrive at the new history. The new history of Adriatic-Ionian program is one of the three child of Southeast Europe. It was divided in three new programs, three little program, at least two little and one little bigger. This is Adrian, Danube, two macro-regional strategies, and Balkan Med. Balkan Med is the rest of the area of Southeast neglected to any kind of strategy, or at least one part of this. Carry on. Okay, these are the three new programs. It was the old map of Southeastern Europe. It was divided in three new programs. Go on. Okay, this is the area of this new territory. There are four non-Europe countries, Albania, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Montenegro and Serbia, and four European Union members, Croatia, Slovenia, Greece and Italy. This is the total. Okay, we are really poor. Probably we are son of the minor god, I believe. Only 99 million euro, that all, with 60 million, more or less, IPA 2 funds and 83.4 ERDF. And we are completely beginner, because for the first time an Italian region as the managing authority of transnational program. And we are here also to learn something from people that has much more experience than us. Carry on. These are the four thematic objectives, the four axes of our program: innovative and smart region, sustainable region, connected region, and more or less is the same of MED, but with a sort of difference, and supporting the governance of EUSAR. We are much more direct in the definition of thematic objective 11, axis 4, because Commission directly asked us to pay all the works and all the development of the macro-regional strategy, we have to do, and we will do. But to do this in the better way with the help of Slovenia, because we are in the development on a strategic project in which the lead partner is Slovenia, in order to set all the action to do the improvement of the strategy for the next 7 years. And we have a lot of expectative in the work of our Slovenian partner, but also in the working group that are a common working group with the representative of all the countries involved in this program. Carry on. These are the better description of the 4 priority axes of this little program, in where the division of each priority is little bit less than the division in MED space, but this depends on the resource, but at the level of number is more or less the same division. Carry on. And now there is, and I wanted to show you, a little problem there are and there will be in this area for the next year. In this space, in Adriatic Ionian space, there are 3 macro-regional strategies. There are 4 transnational programs, and completely enclosed in this area, 11 CBC programs. Please. If you show, these are the 3 macro-regional strategy: Adriatic Ionian, Danube strategy, and Alpine strategy. Goes. These are the 4 transnational programs: MED, Balkan MED, Alpine Space, and Central Europe. Carry on. These are the 11 cross-border programs. Go on. To try to achieve effective management of the new programming, there need a strong coordination among the managing authority, at least of the ATC transnational program, located in this space. Why? Show the next. This is the spaghetti ball that arrived at the end. Thank you, Commission, for this fantastic draw, but this is. There are a lot of challenge inside, but there are a lot of problems. You can understand very well that this is a chaos if you look at this. But these are a strong challenge also for the MAs of this program. Without any kind of relation, I believe that European money will not spend in the right way, because probably there will be overlap, there will be problems, and so on, and so on, and so on. The last, we have, and we are here to start the discussion with the other managing authority to do what? Joint communication, coordination during the call, capitalization, or something like this. We have to do it in order to try to achieve result at the program level, but also at the level of macro-regional strategy. More or less, this is the idea.
Okay, you were saying, maybe, can we have this map back, this weird map that is...
Nice.
Yeah, this one is really nice, because it makes you ask a question whether there are more problems than challenges? Is there more problems than challenges if you look at that?
Well, yes. Well, Ludovico is right. This is a challenge. I mean, the thing is that well, all these smaller cross-border cooperation programs, they have their own logic. So we can, if we have goodwill, we can consider them complementary to the transnational programs and transnational issues. But anyway, the challenge is that, or the problem is that we have to be aware of each other, and we have to somehow know when we are doing complementary things and when we are just doing the same things and so on. And of course, all this, the problem is not that we would not like to cooperate with these, because as a cooperation program, obviously we want to cooperate with everybody. The problem is the time, because there isn't any specific mechanism to do this, and establishing contacts with all the other managing authorities and dealing with each one of our programming logics and seeing things together. Well, this is not just not an easy task. This is probably not feasible on the level of the spaghetti bowl, very simply. At least it has to be feasible, as Lodovico said, on the level of transnational programs which are superposing in this programming area. So at least we are starting on good basis. We will be putting things together. We will be asking the project operators also to put things together, because we very much like you and the other project operators to be complementary. So if you have complementary proposals in Adrian program, in Med program, and they are somehow coordinated and they are somehow giving more result than just a proposal in each one or the other, this is fine for us, and this is to be encouraged. But if you want to propose the same thing in the two programs, then we will have a problem. So, you know, this kind of overall approach of coordinating what's happening in the transnational programs, we will have to build it up anyway.
I fully agree with Daria in this, because, okay, it is quite impossible, because are different as target and in the development, a strong coordination with the CBC cross-border program. At the same level, it is really difficult also to have a cooperation with the mainstream EASY program, because are some of the same political issue, but is different in the development. We need a strong relation between the managing authority of transnational programs and with the technician and the politician involved in the macro-regional strategy. The macro-regional strategy has to be the connection between mainstreams, CBC, and transnational programs, because it is inside of the strategy. Then politician and technician from each country can merge the local needs to the general need. We can help as MA of transnational program. We can suggest or to find some sort of premiality to improve the capacity of the projects and the declaration by each partner that we apply here, but also in other program, because we are following a unique strategy divided in different projects. We try to find this kind of solution, but it is in charge of the local politician and the technician to find this merge and to use this spaghetti ball as opportunity, as a challenge, not as a system in where you use this different program to reproduce the same thing n plus n times. This is, I believe, the opportunity. We try to carry on in this way, also to participate together in some moment, to explain the differences, to have a sort of lesson to do, but also to learn, in order to try to carry on this. But I'm optimist, and this is the main thing.
Thank you, Ludovico. Is there something else we would need to add to this discussion? Because I think quite a lot of answers were already answered in this debate. So we could move, I suggest we move on, since we still have some other sessions to do. I will thank you all. Thank you for being creative, humorous, informative, and everything else. And try to explain this to some normal people. I mean, thank you. Our next session is called How to Better Align Results Produced in Cooperation and Mainstreaming Programs. Hi, I will be joined by Daniela Ceccani, correct? General Secretary, the Ministry of European Integration, Albania. I will be joined by Irena Mars. Irena, hi. Ministry of Culture, Slovenia. And we will be joined by, there you are, okay. We have seen Polona before, and we have seen, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Darko, we have seen you in the previous session. So, from what we were discussing so far, and on the basis of basically really... Oh, of course, I'm sorry. Is there another... Maybe we can use this chair, yeah? And let me introduce you correctly. I'm sorry, because... Actually, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do and what your name is and what we should know about you?
Then I should speak all the night. Thank you very much. I'm Vedat Solic. I'm coming from Sarajevo. I'm director of REIK. It's an NGO founded by UNESCO Venice office before 10 years ago. We are dealing mainly with, as it in our name, it's sustainable development projects with energy efficiency, renewables, and environmental protection mainly. We are partners in the Urban Empathy Project, and we are happy to be here. So,
okay, great.
Just very briefly.
Thank you for that. Okay, shall we just go on in this kind of order? I will ask Daniela, what concrete projects and experiences can you introduce and maybe share with us?
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here in this event. I would like to present for Albania how can share together some thoughts on how to better align the results produced in cooperation and also mainstreaming programs. As you all know, integrating new knowledges and good practices of cooperation programs is not such an easy exercise because of many reasons, and I would like to mention one of them, which is the lack of the coordination mechanism to put in place to ensure all this process. And one of the difficulties is even to get familiar with this novelty. And I think that it would be of great benefit for all of us to get familiar and then to promote and to define which can be the instruments toward this. I'd like to briefly explain to you how the programming process of national programs in Albania function. As you all are aware, we have entered in the new perspective, financial perspective, IPA 2, for 2014 and 2020. This new financial perspective has introduced us the so-called sectoral approach. So it's something new for all of us. I would like also to mention that country strategy paper is one of the documents that provides our annual priorities. And this document has been jointly drafted by the European Commission and also Albanian government. And this document serves as the base for the national IPA coordinator, which is, in this case, is the NIPAC, is Ministry for European Integration, which is in charge of setting the annual priorities to be funded, supported by IPA funds. According to these documents, there are 7 eligible areas to be supported. And the main novelty of this new financial perspective, IPA 2, is that there is the necessity of having sectoral strategies in place in order to make possible for the country to support the sectors that it needs to be funded. So, in other words, without a sector strategy, we can have no sector supported by IPA funds. One other novelty is that setting the annual priorities has to be done in a different way than before. So the approach is top-down approach instead of a bottom-up approach as in previous financial perspective. The responsibility of setting the annual priorities, it's a responsibility of NIPAC, also in consultation with the Prime Minister Office, and in close consultations also with the European Commission. According to the country strategy paper, Albania takes part in many CBC cooperation programs, also with IPA countries, member states, and other regional cooperation activities, programs, which will be funded with the contributions from both IPA funds and also European Regional Development Funds. This is a good opportunity for Albanian applicants in order to practice with the rules and also procedures of territorial cooperation activities and extend, why not, the network of potential partners. But which are the obstacles and which are the solutions that we can propose? One of the obstacles that I should mention is that we need a more strategic programming in terms of national programming and also CBC programs and cooperation activities, so that we can align better the priorities that are addressed by both programs. In case of Albania, there is an advantage on this because Ministry of European Integration is in charge of managing both programs, national programs and also CBC and cooperation activities. But as you know, this is not the case in some other neighboring countries because they are in charge of national IPA envelope and some of them are in charge of other cooperation activities. A potential solution in this case can be the proposal or the establishment of a horizontal unit, for example, to be in charge of the alignment of these programs and also the results and outcomes. So this unit could ensure the full exploitation of the outcomes of cooperation projects in the benefit of the mainstreaming projects. Even the fact that mainstreaming and also cooperation activities are in charge of Ministry of European Integration and are managed by the same body, in this case, it seems that it's not a real synergy between them. So we have never been guided toward the better alignment of these results under these programs. But we are all aware that the new projects that are going to be awarded in the new financial perspectives has to be definitely been built on the previous outcomes of the projects that have been awarded during the previous financial assistance. And in this regard, maybe one solution might be the establishment of a digital database, in this case, that should keep records not only on the number of the cooperation activities, but also on the sustainability of the projects. So we can have some records in case we need to build on the achievements that are already built on the previous projects that have been implemented. This database, why not, should be updated accordingly many times a year, and also can be managed by operating structures and also GDS. In this way, we can avoid the duplication of the projects and build on the achievements, as we mentioned before, on the previous ones. Another obstacle is also the issue of beneficiaries. As you all know, the beneficiaries under the national programs are the central institutions, but in cooperation activity and CBC programs, the beneficiaries are local authorities and regional authorities, including civil society organizations. So in this case, we should make some additional efforts to see the cooperation measures at all levels of governance, central and local, in combination with Europe 2020 strategy. We should also keep in mind the needs of the regions and territories with the existing territorial strategies. For this reason, the NIPAC and the supporting staff is trying to establish the coordination mechanism, or we can call also stakeholder platform, to bring together all the beneficiaries periodically, to exchange the views, to enhance their dialogue, and also to exchange the results that are produced under these programs. Another issue that we think that needs improvement is the synergy between civil society organizations, cooperation, and the enhancement of the policy dialogue. We have already established an office in the Ministry of European Integration, but the role of this office has to be still strengthened. We have also advised the civil society organizations to share their outcomes of the projects with the line ministries, so they can be in the benefit of the mainstreaming projects under national IPA programs. And we always advise them to put into their, to bring some good examples on their cooperation activities and also projects that they have implemented. We can mention here a good example in the frame of Greece Albania CBC program about one of the organizations that have developed an action plan in the energy efficiency in the public buildings in the southern parts of the country. This action plan was delivered to the Ministry of Energy and Industry to be put forward and to be implemented for the under national IPA program or also other donor sources. So to conclude, I would like to add that although the territorial cooperation budget should definitely be increased, but even in this case, we can say that it will be never sufficient funded for all the funding for all the activities, major cross-border and transnational infrastructure projects which Europe needs. So if the principle of territorial cohesion is to be implemented properly, and in order to increase the European added value of the funding allocated under different programs, what we need is the greater complementarity between the programs, territorial cooperation programs and the mainstream programs, which is really essential. I believe that the programming must be better coordinated. The national or regional programs should have the option to take an interest and get used of the cross-border and territorial cooperation activities by defining a territorial approach. And the last, the programming process of the mainstreaming programs should be developed in accordance with the principles of multi-level governance, which I mentioned even before, and partnership, which will allow the full exploitation of the potential of territorial cooperation projects. Thanks also to the relations developed among private and public actors across borders. And we have not yet a full amount of priority funded for this issue under the national programs, but we have an idea to include that in the EU integration facility component that we fund each year under the national programs. Maybe this can be a good idea to profit in the beneficiation of mainstreaming programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Since you've used the mainstreaming project just in the end of your presentation, I will ask Polona, because she's very good with definitions, and then Tarja as well, because we were dealing with, what was it, capitalization? How do you capitalize on your previous experiences and projects? So what about mainstreaming? I mean, I really wonder how many people in this room know what exactly mainstreaming means. I'm sure you have a good idea. I went to Med Glossary and it wasn't there.
And there I found, because I did not know. But it's just an issue of terminology, because the process is already clear. But
Okay.
mainstreaming was still not clear. It's a new terminology part.
Okay. Here you go.
But it is easier than it seems because mainstream means main money. And then, you
Okay.
have a big stream of money. The mainstream are in this objective one or objective development programs. We are only a few river, a few creek
Okay.
around this mainstream. You
Okay.
have to look at the money.
We shouldn't
Mainstream means more money.
we shouldn't overcomplicate. It's very simple actually. Do you agree, Dario?
Yes, that was simplifying the mechanism. Yes, yeah. No, it was well, to get the message there. You have to simplify. So we shouldn't complicate when we don't have to. So it's correct. It's correct. But what is it about the small money and the big money? It's that with the small money you are providing a certain number of results, which probably the big money is not aware of, or in some cases, in many cases, the big money would not be able to provide these results. And the small money, which has provided the results, has to make the big money know about them and want to use them, the results, and multiply their use. And that's about mainstreaming, if you want a very concrete image. And why is this not already done? Well, for very many practical reasons. I mean, the worlds are not connecting. First of all, you can say that from the big money point of view, there is rarely a larger vision than the strict territorial mandate where the big money is situated. The larger vision is not entering the larger territorial vision, and the interconnections of the territories are not intervening into the calculation of the bigger money. And then there is also a very sectoral and fragmented approach mostly. So if I'm working in the environment, I know about the environment, but I don't know about the innovation, or I don't know about the other sectors. And I know about my domain, and that's it. And these are not interconnected either. And then from our side, from the small money side, we didn't have a structured approach to offer this coordination, to try to offer it in a structured way, to put it clearly visible for this big money so that they can take it. And when we are talking about coordination mechanisms and governance and all this, we are actually talking about how to find this mechanism.
May I add an example? Because I fully agree with Daria, but in this line, the big money pay as an example, a rebuilding of a castle in somewhere. But why I have to rebuild this castle or this village? And this is the issue, the target of the few money program, that go in the strategy, go in the coordination on any action. The mainstream pay the physical action to arrive at an improvement of environment or to have a better connection or so on. I need a strategy, a framework, a discussion between partners from different nations in order to have an overlook of all the situation. And in this overlook, in this big vision, you put the action. But to do the single action, you need more money. But if you don't use in the right way this money, this is a fragmentation of action with nothing of concrete in a core vision. And this is, I believe, the relation between these two streams.
Thank you, Ludovico, Gentian, and Daria for these explanations, because now the main question of our session, how to better align results produced in cooperation and mainstreaming programs makes more sense. I would like to join in this debate everyone who still hasn't joined, so Polona and Darko and yeah. So please just add on. Let's have a lively final debate.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation of the mainstreaming because obviously we probably all of us has a little bit different definition of what the mainstreaming is, but in general I think that we all agree what the mainstream is. Maybe if I turn back to the topic of this session, which is how to better align results that are produced within the ETS programs to the mainstreaming program, which is, in my opinion, the Europe strategy. Yeah? I would maybe share my point of view because I've noticed that during this session that all the time we're talking about how to better align the results with the ones who need these results. And I was thinking that, in my opinion, when the results are produced and if we are looking at the end of the project, the person who would need these results, it's too late. In my opinion, or me personally, I would move a little bit before, when we start to prepare the project, whenever, I don't know if you know how the projects are prepared, but in general, there is a call of, for example, of the MID program, how we know the priorities, we know the theme of the call, and there is someone who has an idea that somehow reflects the main issue of the call, prepare the application form, and then start to look for the partnership, and within all the process and the elaboration of what should be done in the project, the team is set up, and then after of 2 years of work, something is produced. And meanwhile, when the application form was prepared and when the project was in action, we forgot about the end user of these results. And sometimes the results that are produced, at the end, we don't know what to do with the results. Because, in my opinion, we should do this about the main users of the results. We should think about who the main users are. We should think about them at the beginning of this process of applying the project to the program, to the calls, or if not at the beginning, then at least in the middle of the project. Otherwise, in my opinion and experiences, I realized that sometimes if you go with the results to the person, to the authority, national, regional, or local, and trying later at the end of the project try to present and promote the results, sometimes the linkage it's not there, it's too late. So I think it's very important that we discuss and that we present what we are doing during the project time. But most important, I think that that in this project, in this programming period, that we include the needs of the decision makers, the one who would need support, or they have a lot of actions that comes from transposing the legislation into the national legislation. They have so many activities on national, regional, and local level that they have to achieve. And sometimes when I talk to them about certain issues that should be done from their side, they said, okay, yes, we have a lot of things to do, but we don't have the sources, the money, and no resources to realize what they had to do. But they don't realize that, within the European projects, they could, if they apply to and if they prepare some projects, they could find this kind of sources to realize the work they have to do. So this is about the project results and the alignment. We should think about this before. Then maybe if I just skip to another issue, when I was listening the presentation before in our the first session, I saw the movement of the MED program. I'm really glad to see this kind of presentation, and I see that the MED and the other programs are moving to the direction that I think personally think that it's the right way. So I see as well how the project could be transferred into the practice through studies, action plans, and then through the project with ideas through the capitalization process. So I think it's a good, the MED program and other programs are in good direction to, in future, to better align the results with the end users.
Thank you, Irena. Irena wants to join the discussion. Maybe you could also, apart from your opinion, of course, tell us what are your experiences with MED cooperation within the Ministry of Culture, Slovenian Ministry of Culture?
Yeah. So, hello everybody. I'm Irena Marš from Ministry of Culture. So I'm working on in project unit for cohesion policy implementation that is responsible for project management of Objective 1 and Objective 3 projects. So we deal with real projects from Objective 1, ERDF and DSF, big projects, and also with CBC and transnational projects. So in previous programming period, this is from 2007 to 2013, we experienced with lack of coordination between managing authorities or authorities from the Objective 3 coordination. So basically, because project unit of Ministry of Culture was organized so that one and the only representative of Ministry of Culture cover all this monitoring committee from Objective 1 and also CBC monitoring committees and transnational committees. So we gained some experience and general overview what's going on European cohesion policy. So actually it's very difficult to have the clear picture over the results from, I don't know, 5 CBC programs and 4 transnational programs and 2 Objective 1 programs in one person and at a glance. Because for CBC, to monitoring CBC projects, me personally, I had 5 passwords for 5 intranet pages to keep on what's going on, with which call of proposal is still running, which is closed, and so on. It's really very difficult. And I suppose it is a need to set up, I suppose, one common structure where all these needs and dynamics of different programs are met. So to integrate, I suppose, these results, the needs for further evaluations, upgrading of some programs, and needs from the terrain. So that's my point.
Okay, Vedat and Darko, maybe, since you didn't have a chance to speak yet in this.
First of all, I would like to speak about the importance of participating in any kind of program for IPA countries, especially for Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is facing tremendous other problems in our country. We have a very high unemployment rate and so on, but we are happy to be the part of Med, despite we have just a little bit more than 20 kilometers of coastline, but which makes more coastline per capita than India, which we are still happy to have this possibility. It's a pity to see in the introduction presentation a very low number of projects coming out from Bosnia with partners from Bosnia, just 11 projects in the past. That's because of one very simple reason. During the war, apart of other damages we faced, outflow of knowledge and of intellectual people in the Europe is a very, very huge damage our country faced, and you cannot imagine how low the level of the possibilities to join EU partners, EU projects and programs is on a small level. There are a couple of organizations which are dealing with, let's say, dissemination events to encourage organization and individuals to join the EU scheme and EU philosophy. And I think, in my personal opinion, we are on a very, very low level in the initial phase of joining bigger projects. So in our country, we have to take first those steps, and then to talk about changing other aspects of participating partners from Bosnia.
Thank you very much. I would like to be very concrete. So from the bottom-up level, how to influence the mainstreaming. I would say very concrete results from our Philoxenia project was that Philoxenia methodology is now in the regional development program of Pomorje region. This would mean that maybe they could fund the welcoming policies from the ERDF funds. We are also partner in another project which is called Creative Med. It is also capitalization project. Very concrete result or impact from that project to the mainstreaming is that we offered of preparation of workshops for the preparation of smart specialization strategy to Slovenian ministry. They accepted this, and after reopening the process of preparation smart specialization, we did 2 workshops, and the result was that in the draft strategy, there was just once mentioned word social innovation. The project is about social innovation and open innovation streaming into the strategies. And now in the second version, we have the word social innovation 10 times written, open innovation 4 times written, and living lab 1 time written. And I think that much of this was also because of our workshop. In our workshop, there were also people from the ministries and also people from the Government Office for Development and European Cohesion Policy. If we are talking about top-down approach, I think that the possibility of mainstreaming and of connection of mainstreaming with the territorial programs already exists, but nobody is talking about it. European Union accepted this Community Provision and Regulation, CPR, and in the Article 1796D, there exists a possibility of using 15% of ERDF funds for territorial cooperation outside of the area, so outside of, for example, Slovenia. And if there would be kind of need or urge or something from the European Commission that they will say, okay, you have to use it for transnational needs, in this case, also this money could be used for transnational projects based also on ETC.
Does anyone want to comment on exactly what Darko's saying? Because I think that was interesting and new point. Ludovico?
This is, from my side, it is a very good point in the new regulation. It was yet in the 2007-2013 regulation, but not so clear defined. It was a little bit foggy in the declaration. Now it is clear that if an administration wanted to put a part of their mainstream budget to the transnational cooperation, can do exactly in this, and it is. I I believe that it is important, and it is because this is the third programming period of ATC as we have now. And this is a cultural issue also for our decision makers, because at the beginning, I'm old, and then I was in 2000-2006 programming period. At that time in Italy, the politician, the decision maker, look at the transnational or Interreg program as something of out of earth, something of strength. Why? My local administration have to cooperate to do what? To survive at the terrible administrative rule from the Commission and the addition of different national rules in the reimbursement of money and so on. No, it is not a good thing. It was. After this, okay, in Italy at least, all the budget was paid from the program and from rotation funds from the Italian government, and you can apply with no expenditure. But at the end, it was false that no expenditure, because the time and the trouble to arrive at to have money back was a big expenditure for a public administration. But realize also that the possibility to have a contact, a relation with other country was useful to improve the quality of local idea. And now we are at the third period, in where I hope, also because also in my regional program it is include the possibility to have cross transnational cooperation. This kind of cooperation can arrive to improve the quality of mainstream local project. And this is, I believe, a cultural issue. But we are in the third period of this action. Probably in 2021, 2028, we arrive to have a strong cooperation, I hope.
I would just like to ask one thing. No one has so far replied or confirmed or contradicted Pollona's critical point about MED projects sometimes forgetting the end user and not concentrating on MED user already in the beginning of the project. So maybe Dario or Ludovico have interesting thought on that.
Well, actually, she was also kind of answering herself, because this is the same observation we make, and which is on the basis of our proposal to simplify the implementing of the projects and to concentrate into one main aspect of a so-called standard project until now. This is the model-based approach we are proposing. So if you need to make a state-of-the-art, because the state-of-the-art is missing, and you have to determine from which approach you are coming to the actual action, you make this phase of a project, and then you might offer it further on in a capitalization project, or you might make a pilot on it, or you might use it for something else. Again, it might be self-sustaining, but it should not stop there. You make a state-of-the-art and you have to use it for something, but you can use it for something in the context of another project. And all these phases or models of projects are precisely trying to go to the same way, to say, at least we have a specific identification for the types of projects who have to deal with the end user, who have to use the result and build up the whole project to deal with the end user. So actually, she already answered to herself as well.
Ludovica, you want to?
I agree with Daria's speech. It's important to arrive at this, to a single project. The life of the single project is the beginning of a new idea, or the result of a project has to be an improvement of the local policy, I believe. If arrive at this, then the question is sustainability of the project. What does it mean? This means that I believe in ATC programming that at the end of the project, some words, as you said, in the local legislations, or some idea, or some action will be applied and will be used for the public administration or for the private in the common life of the administration. And the help from abroad at your local issue is important because enlarge the point of view, enlarge the experience. This is the sustainability of a project. If a project arrive at the end, do something of good, but not useful for the common life in the future, this project from my side was failed. Not higher level result, but result applicable for the strategy, for the policy, for the local policy. And the connection between mainstreams and transnation ATC program is exactly this, to find some new action, some new attitude, more or less.
Thank you, Ludovico. I will take this also as a... Irina, you want to add something? I will take what you were saying as a sort of concluding statement because it nicely rounds up what we were saying just now. And I will ask Daria again. I will ask Daria before we move to the World Cafe method to maybe give us some general conclusion of what we were talking just now.
Yes, well, if I'm still able to conclude something after all this, we need to be process-oriented. I mean, we started this, I am in the territorial cooperation issues since almost 20 years now. So we started this programming with a concept of individual projects, valuable projects, of course, but projects that came together to develop an idea and then most often found out in the end of the project life that they didn't have time to think about who's going to use this idea, this result, or this service that they provided. And then it ended there. And then came another opportunity to start similarly creating an idea and working on it and so on. But there was no evolution, there was no process. And even if all situations are individual and all projects are working on a specific problem, from our point of view now, from now on, and already this is the case, each project has to be aware that they are part of a community and they can hand out the idea to another one continuing, or they can recreate a partnership taking several of these ideas and services that have been provided and working on how to transfer them to the end users in another project. And all this is forming a process throughout the programming period. So they are not just developing to A to Z and then stop there, but they are developing a part and then they are going further with this part with another partnership. And all this is, of course, about I want to improve the policies, I want to provide ideas and services to this objective. So I'm doing it with this type of project and then I'm trying to go further on with this other type of project. And this is where we want to come with us, with you and with the stakeholders of our programs. So now if you still have some battery left, we can discuss in smaller groups and we can discuss in concrete. For instance, I will be in the group how to do this model-based approach in reality.
Thank you so much, Daria. I will just pass the microphone to Anna because it will be interesting to hear European Commission sort of perspective on what we were saying just now.
Thank you. No, I will use 2 minutes more of your time, but just because I think I feel and I want to react a bit to what was mentioned. Just as an outcome of these two tables, no, I guess the spaghetti bowl is even more complicated because it needs to include the regional and national operational programs and sectoral programs. So we are speaking about hundreds of projects. Now, on the positive note, so what does it mean? It means that we need to break the borders also inside the countries, huh? Because we were speaking about this challenge to make those two worlds or 3 or 4 speak and connect and be together. No? So we are not breaking borders only between countries, but also inside countries and inside sectors. No? And this is the challenge. And now, as I said, as a positive note, what do we believe, or I hope that it's a common belief, that macro regions can contribute to that? Two main elements. First of all, we have political commitment at the highest political level to do this. So there are no excuses. Huh? I mean, there are some commitments to proceed like this. So we should use this. I think we should use this political stir of this process. And then secondly, it was already mentioned briefly, but there are tools. So for the first time, the regulations provide with specific tools to facilitate and to promote this more cooperative approach. And not only this, in the case of macro-regional strategies, it is an obligation. So we need to respond at the end of the programming period. Did we contribute? Did our programs contribute to these macro-regional strategies? So just to give this message, you know, that of course it's a challenge, of course it's complex, of course it's difficult, but it's also a great opportunity, and I think we need to make the most of it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And of course, thank you, the participants of our last session. Not the last session. Before we move to World Cafe, and Kirill will explain to us what exactly we will be doing, the concept. And I would like to remind us all once again that there are questionnaires that are to be filled, because Magali really needs them for future work. And I also would like to remind you that everything is getting ready for the reception after the World Cafe. So please don't forget about that. Thank you once again, and Kirill is there ready.
Okay, so just very fastly, I mean, all day long we had the word, so we would like to give now the opportunity for the audience to give us some feedback. I mean, it is called Word Cafe, but it's a very, very simple format. I mean, you see 4 flip charts in the 4 corners of the room, and these flip charts are representing 4 different areas where we are looking for your feedbacks. I mean, there is an area about the macro-regional strategy and the priority axis 4. There is another one about the horizontal cluster approach. There is a third one about the project level cooperation, and the 4th one about the existing instruments and platforms what we can use for a better coordination with the mainstreaming programs. So at all areas there will be some, let's say, not moderators but coordinators of these areas who will help you in providing your feedbacks. So feel free to visit whichever area you would like to visit, and please give us your feedback for the future for us. Thank you.